is that?
It's my wife. She's gone missing. She said she was going to meet me, but she hasn't turned up. Can you help me?
When was the last time you saw her?
It was this morning in Kensington.
Does she have a mobile telephone with her?
In January of last year, Diane Chenery-Wickens vanished. Her disappearance was the start of a trail of guilt that would lead police back to her home and ultimately to her own husband. David Chenery and Diane Wickens met in the 90s. When they married, they took each other's names as a sign of their partnership and became the Chenery-Wickens. Diane was a successful makeup artist at the BBC, working on high-profile programmes like Dead Ringers. She even won an Emmy for her work.
She was someone who was always thinking about you, actually. She was deeply thoughtful, could never give enough time to those that she loved. She would just make them feel special.
They moved to Sussex, where they lived in a cottage on the edge of Ashdown Forest. David worked as a spiritualist minister and faith healer. He also volunteered at a steam railway nearby, even fronting a video about it.
I'm the Reverend David Chenery-Wickens, and I'm the Society Secretary at the Lavender Line.
They seemed like the ideal couple until one day Diane just disappeared.
On the 24th of January last year, David Chenery-Wickens went into a central London police office to report his wife missing.
It'd be really great today.
Chenery-Wickens told police that Diane had mysteriously vanished on a day trip to London. He claimed they'd caught the train together that morning from East Grinstead Station in Sussex. In London, they'd parted company and arranged to meet later on.
It really wasn't in her character to go missing in that way. There was so much going for her, and she was very much connected with her family, that this didn't seem right.
Police got hold of Diane's phone records and started analysing them. Initially, it did look like she'd caught the train to London, but then, when they looked at CCTV of the station platforms and trains, it told a very different story. Diane was nowhere to be seen. But another figure did loom large in the footage, her husband, alone. Chenery-Wickens had made the whole thing up. His account of the journey to London was a pack of lies.
When we discovered that David Chenery-Wickens had lied to us about the journey to London on the train, that really was the turning point in the investigation. That was the moment when a missing person inquiry became a murder investigation. He was arrested and taken in for questioning. Police started building a picture of Chenery-Wickens' life. What they found was truly astonishing. David Chenery-Wickens, spiritualist minister and devoted husband, was in fact a serial adulterer and a con man.
I'm looking forward to it.
Discovered that he had a double life, in fact more than a double life. We uncovered a number of different affairs, extramarital affairs that he'd been having with in excess of half a dozen women.
Not only that, police found Chenery-Wickens was also having sexual encounters with men, and he was making up outrageous stories to cover his tracks.
He was telling people that his son had suffered a severe brain injury and was in hospital.
Chenery-Wickens did have a son from a previous marriage, but the brain injury was complete fabrication.
This, of course, gave David an opportunity to live and spend lots of time away from home, apparently taking care of his son. It also enabled him to borrow money from some of the women that he'd met.
No, he's fine.
And his account of the days leading up to Diane's disappearance all started to unravel. The investigation was really gathering momentum.
When we were examining the data from Diane's phone, it became apparent that some text messages had been sent to her friends. These messages had been signed Di. Her usual way would be to sign off as Diane. Well, this led us to suspect that someone was impersonating her, and that had to be David.
Everything was pointing to Chenery-Wickens, but despite this now being a murder inquiry, the police had so far failed to find Diane's body and had hardly any forensic evidence. That was about to change. After searching the couple's house from top to bottom, they discovered a trinket box with a hidden compartment. The rings belonged to Diane, and they were splattered with blood.
When we sent the items for a forensic examination in the laboratory, it became clear that it was Diane's blood. But that obviously gave us cause to suspect that at some stage Diane had suffered some injury.
Detectives also found the day before Chenery-Wickens reported his wife missing, he was captured on CCTV in Tunbridge Wells, selling off her possessions to a jeweller. Police were convinced that Diane had been murdered. They were also convinced that Chenery-Wickens was the murderer. But, despite extensive searches, they still hadn't found Diane's body.
It was really hard. Every day hoping that we'd hear some news, and yet, given the evidence that was mounting up and given what we'd already been told by the police and what we were beginning to suspect, it was hoping for the best but expecting the worst.
4 months after she disappeared, Diane's body was finally found here, in woods quite close to a busy road, about 8 miles from where she lived. And next to her, there was a clue, which was to seal her husband's fate. Alongside Diane's remains, police found this pair of boots. They still had shoe trees inside, which meant that Diane couldn't have been wearing them. They must have been put there.
Whoever had left her body there had to have had access to the home address and taken the boots from the address. This could only have been one person in our view.
Diane's body was so badly decomposed that police couldn't tell how, where, or when she died. But by now they were able to put together a picture of Diane's last days.
We believe that on the 22nd of January, Diane was going through a phone bill and came across a couple of unfamiliar telephone numbers. She made calls to those numbers, we believe, in order to find out who they were. And of course, imagine the shock when she discovered that one of those numbers was to David Chenery-Wickens' mistress and another was to a gay sex chat line. We don't know exactly what happened following Diane's discovery of these telephone numbers, but clearly there was a confrontation between her and David Chenery-Wickens. Our belief is that following that confrontation he flipped and he killed his wife. Then he sold her jewellery, sent texts out from her phone and pretended to take a trip to London with her. Chenery-Wickens was arrested and charged. Even when he was cautioned, he remained completely calm and showed no signs of guilt.
Do you understand the caution? Yes, I do.
To give you an idea of just how callous and calculating he was, after he'd murdered his wife, Chenery-Wickens tried to cover his tracks by leaving this message on Diane's phone.
Hello, darling. It's me. Wherever you are, just please get in contact. I'm trying to tune in to you. You seem to be in a not a good place. Yes, sure. But I need to have some contact. I'm at home, our home, wishing you were here with me now. Please, Diane. I'm going frantic here. Please phone me. Love you. Bye. Love you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Chenery-Wickens was tried for his wife's murder in January. In court, he kept changing his story and fabricated lie after lie, saying that Diane had money problems and had even manufactured her own disappearance.
David defended himself by trying to defame Diane. He tried very, very hard to tarnish her reputation. Although we as a family knew what she was like, some of the things that he was saying were shocking. All we could hope for was that the jury would see through that, which they did.
4 weeks ago, the jury gave their verdict. Chenery-Wickens was unanimously found guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life.
He betrayed everyone he met. However, his grossest betrayal was of the woman who deserved it least, Diane.
He obviously thought that he could get away with the murder of his wife by telling a web of lies, and I'm deeply satisfied that the jury were able to see through that web of lies and convict him.